Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And in today's episode, we're going to learn how to use shapes to draw comic characters. Stay tuned. I feel like more often than not, we see comic book artists draw characters with realistic proportions and structure. While this approach works for most artists, I really enjoy the artists that actually do the opposite. In the book, How to Draw the Marvel Way, we see another way of drawing a human figure, with shapes. Some artists are known for this, and their characters take on a whole different feel than your average comic book character. Enter Hellboy. Now, first and foremost, I gotta be honest, I don't know much about Hellboy outside of the movies, but I gotta say, I love his design. And I tried drawing him a while back. Let me know what you think about it. Also, there's a new Hellboy game coming out soon. I got to do a video about that. Okay, so how do you draw Hellboy using shapes? Well, grab your pencils, it's time for a drawing session. About a couple weeks ago while drawing with a buddy of mine, I did this sketch of Hellboy. And in fact, what we're going to do today is use those same shapes used in this drawing to create a second drawing. And finally, we'll ink that drawing to get the complete comic book look. Alright guys, so you can see the drawing cam here. I got my Hellboy drawing set up. And I got a sheet of paper on top of it. This is my trusty light box. And what I'm going to do is we're just going to go over these shapes and find out what we used here. Alright? Okay, all I have is a oil-based charcoal pencil, or oil-based pit pencil. And yeah, so look at this first shape. Let's start with this overall shape of his body, right? Actually, let me move this down just a little bit so that we get the full body in this 8.5 by 11 sheet. This paper is regular like tracing paper, and this is regular computer paper. You'll find it any Staples. It's 8.5 by 11, right? So that's like regular standard letter paper. I'm just gonna tape this stuff down so nothing moves around. Okay, so that looks good. All right, so let's look at these shapes here. From what I see, I just see a giant triangle shape here. And I'm gonna just draw a little darker so you can see it on the camera. A giant triangle shape, but it's like typical for like superhero torsos. So giant triangle, or just like almost like a Doritos shape. I'm hungry. A Doritos like shape here. All right. So I hope that looks pretty good on camera. We have this giant shape here, and what I actually use for the head is more of an oblong sort of tube shape. So you got this on going here. And I suggest any of you guys do this on any like artist you love to see what kind of shapes they use, or even if you're making stuff up or having your own approach to it, you might learn something that they might not even know that they're doing. So that's gonna be really interesting, right? So we have this oblong shape and this triangle shape, pretty general, pretty easy to replicate. What I'm gonna do now is show you a little bit about what a contour line is, or we'll do what's called a cross contour, right? So that means just splitting these organic shapes, you know, halfway. So I'm just gonna pretend this is like, it looks like a tube, right? So I'm just gonna add this circular form to it. Right? So it looks like a toilet paper roll or something. I'm gonna add this dotted line in between too. And then on the top. I might be super accurate here, but should make sense. Right? So that's what you can see. So now you have sides on this shape that you wouldn't normally think of a side. Like a cylinder doesn't really have sides, obviously, right? Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing with this large Dorito chip-like shape here. I'm gonna cut it down the middle. Just going over these lines so you can see them better. Okay, So this is our cross contours. If I turn off our light box, you'll see what happened next. Right? So you have this shape here. Right? You can do a lot with this. You don't really need to even, you know, go deeper into detail with this type of stuff. You can start with this. Alright, so let's get back into it. I just want to make sure this is not moving too much. Whoops. Okay, so those are shapes I kind of used. And how to draw the Marvel way, what they tend to do with this larger torso shape is simplify it with a sphere. And a lot of how-to drawing books, how to draw anime characters, how to draw just about anything, you see a lot of these round shapes. But I want to tell you something. Rounder shapes are kind of harder to abstract and harder to use, to be honest. Alright, so you have this rounder shape now. Let's even do a cross contour of that. Like the equator on the Earth, splitting it in half. And let's turn off that light box and see what happens to that shape again. Right, so we get this. So a lot of times you'll see those drawings, you know, those how-to books again will do those drawings where, you know, you draw a head, and you get this kind of thing. Same is said for the body, right? So if you're drawing a body, you can simplify it by using a box and getting like this. That's like the chest line, so on and so forth. And you simplify everything else. Belly button, belly, muscles, pecs, deltoids, so on and so forth, right? So I got another sheet of paper and left my sort of shape reference to the side here. And now I'm gonna go ahead and start another drawing based on those shapes. Now, I didn't say this, but you can definitely do this in your sketch. Use any amount of those shapes in your drawing. If you wanna use 3, 4, 6 tubes, whatever. You know, this Dorito shape, how many times you want. Yeah, so that's essentially what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna put the sort of guide down here again. I'm using a red pencil, so I may have to draw a little darker. Do you see it? Yep, okay, so we've got the sphere, Dorito. I really hope, I need some Doritos today. Okay. And we have this tube shape. This reminds me of the Smash, the Smash Brothers beating up dummy or whatever. So I'm just gonna put contours in there just so I know. Again, these are gonna help me see how these objects, what direction these objects are facing. That's all perspective really is, right? Put a dotted line between that. So now this Dorito has a face, it's facing that way. This tube is almost facing that way, right? Make sense? Okay, cool. All right, so let's draw Hellboy. First and foremost, Mike Mignola is known for his great compositions. A lot of times he'll have these great big scenes and using something like a triangle throughout the whole, for the whole composition. He'll do something like this. And again, I suggest you use maybe, if you have a color pencil, use that for your underdrawing, like your pre-sketch before you get into details. So I've got this big triangle, right? And right now I'm not using any reference at the moment. I'm just using my my memory and my knowledge of his work to sort of start off. Okay, so we have this big triangle. This could be our Dorito right here, right? Okay, so that's our big Dorito composition so far. Okay. Alright, so now we're looking back at this, and immediately as I look at this image here, this is like the first thing that's calling my attention. So what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna put Hellboy up there somewhere. And what I decided to do was I'm gonna use a series of tubes for him. Alright, so I'm actually gonna draw his body first, and I have this really commanding pose in my mind. So here's my tube. Again, drawing that middle line, it's gonna give you a lot of information. So I'm thinking that could be the middle of the chest line, right? So he's maybe rising up his fist or something. And what I'm gonna do, again, which is pretty typical of superhero stuff, is to put like a sphere for the torso here. And then like a triangle on top of it. As a matter of fact, I still think, yeah, let's leave that tube there. I'm gonna make his legs kind of super skinny. As a matter of fact, I may have to use a different pencil so you see better. Or even a pen. I'll keep it loose, right? Alright, better. So I'm just gonna do something like that. So I have my tubes. I'm just gonna put lines in these so you know how to look at these shapes, right? While designing this composition, I made sure all the characters or all the elements pointed to Hellboy at the very top, where my focal point was. Here's a result of that very busy sketch. Okay, so I essentially took that last sketch from our last pose, and we're just gonna zoom in and use the same shapes here. So I used the tube for the head this time. And you know, that sort of, yeah, chip shape, triangular shape with a sphere inside, and another tube for the torso. Right. Then this small sort of shape here. Another one going off that way. It's kind of weird redrawing your own drawing. But hey, I'll do it for you guys. Alright, so we have that very small tube here. So here's what we ended up with after that last sketch. I decided to go into Procreate, ink it up, and then color it. And that about wraps up our Hellboy drawing video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you liked it. Like, comment, subscribe down below. I have a few more art videos coming soon, and hit that notification bell. It really helps support the channel. I'll see you next time.